Okay, let's jump right into this explainer and figure out how to drastically optimize your vegetable yields. Look, if you're growing crops, especially high-value plants like peppers and tomatoes, you probably already know that a truly great harvest isn't just about getting lucky with the weather. It's actually the result of some pretty strict, proven agro-calendar techniques. So today, we're going to trace the entire chronological journey of a plant. We'll start from a tiny raw seed and go all the way to a massive, high-quality harvest, digging into the specific scientific methods you can use along the way to absolutely guarantee your success.
But first, this brings up a really interesting question. When we run out to the garden center or the local market to buy ready-made seedlings, do we really know what we're actually getting? You might be bringing home a plant that has already suffered from improper care, severe root stress, or even early-stage disease before it ever touches your soil. And honestly, worse yet, you could be buying the completely wrong variety for your specific climate or harvest goals. The foundation of your entire growing season is just way too important to leave to someone else's unpredictable standards.
So here's our roadmap for today. 1. Why grow your own? 2. The perfect seed start. 3. Planting technologies. 4. Hardening, the crucial step. And finally, number 5. Maximizing your yield.
Let's start with section 1, why grow your own? Taking control of your harvest.
Basically, if you want a specific outcome, you've got to own the entire process. Growing from seed is truly the only way to guarantee both the quality and the exact variety of your crops. It really comes down to a pretty stark choice. On one hand, store-bought seedlings bring a totally unknown care history. On the flip side, homegrown seedlings give you total control. You know for sure you're planting the right variety, and because you're managing their nutrition from day one, you're ensuring a significantly stronger start. If you seriously want to master your yields, it's time to take charge of your own agricultural success right there in the seedling tray.
Moving on to section 2, the perfect seed start, preparing the foundation. You know, what's really fascinating about this early phase is how much that very first step dictates your final harvest months down the line. Think of this as a macro view of the season, and we'll use peppers as our main example here. Back in January and February, you're sowing seeds in hotbeds. By March, those little seedlings have grown enough for pricking, which is basically just transplanting them into a larger space so they can stretch out. Finally, in late April and May, they get moved out into the open field. But keep in mind, peppers love heat, so if you live in a cooler northern region, you typically need to push all these dates back by about 10 days or so.
Okay, but before those seeds ever go into that January hotbed, they need some serious prep. Here's a highly effective seed soaking process using an organic humate stimulant called Humistim. Now, the absolute crucial point here is how you prepare the water itself. You have to dechlorinate topwater by just letting it sit in an open container for 4 to 5 hours. Do not skip this. Skipping this step can actively harm your young plants before they even sprout, because chlorine is actually toxic to those delicate little seed tissues. Once your water has rested and is at a comfortable 23 to 25 degrees Celsius, you mix in 40 milliliters of Humistim for every 2 liters of water. And that's enough to treat a whole kilogram of seeds, by the way. Soak them for 5 to 6 hours, let them dry, and boom, they are ready for the dirt.
And speaking of the dirt, you can't just use any random soil. For seedlings, you need a high-quality soil mixed with well-rotted manure. Enriching this soil matrix with organic granular stimulants, specifically targeting the root zone, is a total game changer. You want to use about 1 to 5 volumetric liters of agrohumistim granules per cubic meter of soil. By placing just a tiny amount, roughly 0.005 liters per plant, directly where the roots are going to develop during that pricking phase, you are guaranteeing a massive head start in the plant's vitality. It immediately gives the plant access to this rich microenvironment that just kicks cellular growth into overdrive.
All right, section 3, planting technologies, adapting to the season.
Let's see how all this preparation builds into the specific planting technologies used out in the real world. This breakdown brilliantly illustrates how you can perfectly match your pepper production method to whatever target harvest time you have in mind. So check out these 3 main technologies. If you want early production, you start in January or February with greenhouse-pricked seedlings. This is ideal for varieties like Sivria, Shipka, or Zlatan Midal. If you're aiming for summer green peppers, you can actually skip the pricking entirely and use standard frames in early March for varieties like Kurtovska Kapia or Rotundi. And for late production, which is perfect if you're planning on canning, you sow directly into long 1.25 meter wide cold beds outdoors in April using varieties like Kozy Rog or Chorbajiski. You're literally tailoring the technology to the exact crop you want.
Which brings us to section 4, hardening, the crucial step. Or, as I like to think of it, putting armor on your plants.
This phase is basically the climax of the plant's early life. Moving a plant from a cozy, protected greenhouse directly out into the harsh soil of a field is a massive shock to its system. So, we have to use a process known as hardening off. Think of this as outfitting your plant with a suit of armor. You are deliberately and slowly adapting the seedling to the harsh realities of the outside world. By gradually introducing them to direct sunlight, aggressive winds, pouring rain, and those wildly fluctuating temperatures before they are permanently planted in the earth, you are ensuring they'll actually survive. Without this armor, even the absolute healthiest greenhouse plant will just wither and die in the field.
Finally, Section 5, maximizing your yield, supercharging field growth.
So, our armored plants are finally out in the field. Now let's talk about how we actively shield them from environmental stress during their growth cycle to absolutely maximize their final output. The secret weapon here is a strict foliar feeding schedule. If you don't know, foliar feeding means you're spraying nutrients directly onto the leaves, where they get absorbed incredibly fast. You do the first spray about 10 days after transplanting, once the plant has really taken hold. You mix 20 milliliters of humustim into 10 liters of water. You definitely want to apply this in calm weather, usually in the late afternoon, so you avoid the intense midday sun burning the wet leaves. Then you repeat this process during the vital budding and flowering phases. What's so incredible about this foliar spray is that it acts as a direct shield against drought, against late spring frosts, and it even severely reduces the chemical stress caused if you ever have to apply conventional pesticides.
Let's look at the numbers, because the impact of these specific agronomic steps is pretty wild. When roots are treated with this organic stimulant program from seed to field, they grow 3 to 4 times larger than untreated roots. 3 to 4 times. That is a massive data point. And think about it. 3 to 4 times the root mass means the plant can absorb drastically more water and nutrients from the soil. It's like giving your plant a massive upgraded engine. But wait, there's more. This exact process also results in a 12% increase in the plant's chlorophyll content. And we all know, more chlorophyll means heavily accelerated photosynthesis. Your plants are going to be visibly greener, structurally way stronger, and just far more efficient at converting sunlight into usable energy.
And here is the ultimate payoff for all of this hard work. By following this chronological process to the letter, proper seed soaking, targeted root stimulants, the correct planting technology, and that foliar feeding schedule, agronomic studies consistently show a 10 to 15% total increase in your final crop production. Let that sink in. That is 15% more food pulling out of the exact same plot of land simply because you decided to work a little smarter.
So, let's summarize what this entire journey actually achieves for you. You aren't just getting a higher yield, you are getting plants with massive root systems that can literally regulate their own water transpiration, which makes them highly tolerant to drought conditions. You're massively boosting their natural immunity to pests and diseases. Amazingly, the humic acids we used even block the absorption of heavy metals from the soil, ensuring your food is ecologically pure. And at the end of the day, you're left with vegetables that have a beautifully uniform shape, a much longer storage life on the shelf, and, best of all, a far better taste.
So I'm going to leave you with this final thought to chew on before your next growing season kicks off. If these structured organic agronomy techniques can drastically multiply your root mass, literally shield your plants from environmental stress, and boost your final harvest by up to 15%, why on earth are you still leaving your crop's success to chance? Take control of your seeds, follow the calendar, and watch your yields completely explode. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, happy growing out there!